Hi, I'm Valerie, and you're listening to The Beauty Brains. Welcome to The Beauty Brains, a show where real cosmetic chemists answer your beauty product questions and give you an insider's look at the cosmetics industry. This is episode 421. I'm your host, Valerie George, and with me today is Perry Romanowski. Hi, Perry.
Hello, Valerie. Great to see you.
Great to see you. We have a lot of stuff to cover on today's show, including what's the scoop on rice protein for hair? Can one improve the texture of synthetic hair? Are azelaic acid and copper peptides compatible? Will Alpharet improve 60-year-old hands? And what are alternatives to Crown Affair's air dry mousse? But first, that inane chit chat.
Valerie, you know who's in my house right now?
Who?
The heat miser.
Has he officially moved in all the way?
No, because he doesn't like to stay in the house. Right? He'll come in my house, get out of the weather, sleep a while, and then he'll go to the door and he wants out because he wants to hang out with his friends, I guess. So, I don't know. He's in and out now.
Well, he's got stuff going on, but that's really cute. Doug
Yeah.
is in the lab today. He comes every day, and then we bring him home at night. But he's just chilling out in a little sun puddle.
You know, the cats do really love sun, don't they?
I love sun. Have you ever taken a nap with half of your body laying in the sunshine? It's pretty incredible.
It sounds like UV damage to me.
Well, I'm talking, through a window, so some of the UVA is filtered out, or UVB,
sure.
I think, is filtered out through a window. But, just to be in that little puddle of warmth is, it's really good. But I also like being in a hot car. It's one of the best feelings.
Well, you know what I used to do? Me and my old partner, Randy, we used to go to lunch together, and we would get in the car, and if I was driving, I wouldn't roll down any of the windows like in the summer, and I'd just see how long we could go without rolling down a window or turning on the air conditioner.
Did Randy know you did that?
Eventually, and then he's like, "Are you going to roll down the window?"
That's so funny. No, I love it. I just had a one-day trip to LA for work. I used to do one-day trips all the time, but
Yeah.
last night it took a toll on me.
And what is it, a 2-hour flight or something for you?
It's like 2 hours, 45 minutes. I took a
Okay.
5:45 a.m. flight, but I had to go extra early to the airport, which I don't usually do because I was returning to a different airport in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
Okay.
I said future Valerie would appreciate leaving the car at the arrival airport. And then I
Sure.
Ubered to the departure airport. So I had to go extra early. I took a photo of a parking spot. Turns out it was totally blurry. So lesson learned, always check the photo before
Yeah.
you walk away from the car.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and when I landed, it took me a little bit to find the car. My clicker doesn't make the car beep, it turns out.
Sure.
So
Oh.
there's also that lesson.
Even harder.
And I was so tired. I thought I could nap on the plane, which I can usually do, but the person in front of me had to have had severe gastrointestinal distress the whole time we were flying. And so I was even like trying to cover my face, and it was a long 3 hours, I'll tell you that.
Well, we're glad you made it back in time to record for today's show.
Let's head over to beauty news.
Valerie, I saw this article in that science magazine, Cosmopolitan. Cosmo used to be a big print magazine, but
I loved reading it in high school because I was like, I'm reading adult stuff. And now that I'm an adult, I was like, is this the type of content they published in the 90s? What was I doing?
I would say it probably pretty much is. I remember when I was first in the beauty industry, and my wife would love to read Cosmo. I think she might have had a subscription to it or something. That's when magazines were magazines. Are they even a print magazine anymore?
I don't know who is print and who isn't.
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. Anyway, they do cover beauty products. And actually, that's one of the things that these magazines used to do. We would go do desk sides in New York and interview with all the beauty editors. And that's how stories about products would get into magazines and such. And so that's interesting. I wonder where they're doing that now. I guess it's just online, right?
Yeah, but I used to love flipping through a magazine and smelling all the different perfumes blending together from like the sample sachets that were
Yeah.
inside. I'll tell you a funny story. I worked at a place that did a bunch of shampoo sample packets for a magazine, but the sample sachet house didn't take into account the weight of the magazines when they were going to shipment in these huge boxes. And so the shampoo packets were exploding. And
Oh.
so basically, they got returned, and we had on some downtime days some people removing the sample sachets from the card so that they could be reused. And I think there were like
Oh.
a million sachets or something like that that had
Wow.
to be done.
That's a lot. A lot of work.
That's a mistake you make once.
All right. Well, this article is Does rosemary oil help with hair growth? And I know I've seen this out other places. Like, I think the Reddit Hair Science had stuff about rosemary. And so it's one of those things that's out there, right? And if you read through the article, in there they cite one study where this was rosemary oil versus minoxidil. This was published in 2015.
Yeah, this is a commonly referenced study. Rosemary oil has been used for a very long time, actually in scalp health, and it's because rosemary is high in carnosic and rosmarinic acids, which are really potent antioxidants. And I feel like, although it's been used for a very long time by different groups around the world, I feel like very recently, and also probably due to social media, there's been a big resurgent interest in it for scalp health.
Yeah, and also probably because there hasn't really been much development of anything new in hair loss products. And so you have to go back and look at stuff that's been around for a while, and or it's just alternates to minoxidil, which is really topically the only thing thus far clinically proven as far as things go to have a big impact. So anyway, this article talks about that, and the reference this study from 2015. But I'm always wary of kind of miracle botanical claims, especially when they go toe to toe with pharmaceutical products, right?
Anytime you want to show that something improves hair growth, health, you always compare it to minoxidil. It's like the gold standard
Right.
for showing that something has efficacy that's not a drug active. So I can see why it's done, but I also am a little leery of some of the studies at times.
Yeah, so in this one they took people who had androgenic alopecia. I split them into two groups. One group had the rosemary oil lotion, and it was standardized for 1/8 cineol, and the other one was a 2% minoxidil. They both were applied the respective treatments twice daily for 6 months, and then by the 6 months, both groups showed statistically significant increase in hair counts compared to their starting point. So there is no real difference in efficacy between the oil and the drug. And you'd be like, oh, wow, this is better. And the rosemary group reported significantly less scalp itching than the minoxidil group. So there's that. But if you want to look at some of the gaps in this study, first they used 2% minoxidil, that's the lower strength version, which is typically marketed to women. Most men use a 5% concentration. So, they're not comparing it against like the best thing. And then also the dermatologists were blinded. The patients really weren't. And rosemary has this it's pretty smelly or a pungent odor, right? So, I mean, you could tell. So it would be pretty hard to blind the fact that one is rosemary and the other one's not, right?
It's interesting that 1/8 cineol was the standardization for rosemary oil, because I would have thought they would have gone off after the antioxidant compounds, which I mentioned are rosmarinic and carnosic acids, because rosemary is really high in all of those, and they're oil soluble. I haven't seen it, but presumably they may be able to enter the hair follicles, which is where they would have value. But 1/8 cineol is a component in tea tree oil, which is actually very irritating. And a strategy for tingling with tea tree oil could be to choose varietals that are high in 1,8-cineol concentration. But the SCCS, which is the Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety in the EU, at the request of a country saying tea tree oil is a carcinogen, mutagenic, and reproductively toxic material, the SCCS actually said, you know what, the 1,8-cineol content should actually be pretty controlled and low in tea tree oil. And I wonder why same thought process isn't being extrapolated to rosemary oil if indeed it is high in 1,8-cineol.
Tough to say. The other thing about this study is they don't really have a true negative control group.
Are you sure about that?
As far as I can tell. But, it's hard to read these scientific papers. So, but without having that true negative control, it's hard to say. Was this just the rosemary itself, the twice daily scalp massage, or some other thing? So, while it's an interesting study, I would say it's not like a slam dunk that says rosemary oil definitely works. And, the fact that it was done in 2015 and we haven't seen the market flooded with rosemary oil hair growth products sort of indicates that, this one might not have really panned out.
Well, I think brands that have already had it saw growth. I think there's been a lot of growth on TikTok and Amazon type brands, but I think the fact that mainstream companies aren't deploying this technology in a real way, I'm sure a lot of them are using it in a way for marketing draw, probably says either something about the viability, the legal risks, maybe the safe use levels, something like that. I think, just seeing one study, even though it has been used for thousands of years for, scalp health, probably speaks a lot.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't think does rosemary oil help with hair growth? I'm on the I doubt it side, which should surprise nobody, I guess.
Well, I believe in it for its antioxidant properties. There's a lot of data about it, and there's a lot of really great compounds that take advantage of the carnosic and rosmarinic acid contents. So, I don't know. I think we need more information. I saw an interesting article in Allure, which is a magazine I never really got into. I mean, we've been quoted in Allure, but,
sure.
I was a Cosmopolitan reader mostly in high school because I couldn't believe they talked about all the sex stuff in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's published. But anyway, Allure has an interesting article about what happened to vegan brands. And there's no surprise. We've talked about it on the show. There's been a resurgence in an interest in collagen, which is typically animal-derived. Chitosan, which Dyson sources from mushrooms, but it's typically coming from crab shells. With collagen, my mentor always reminisced about the time in the 80s and 90s when he could use beef-derived collagen. But now consumers, are they still interested in vegan skincare products?
Well, according to this, the vegan beauty used to be cool, but now it's struggling. And I would say online I see less talk of veganism, and there have been they point out there are some famous celebrities who have gone off of being vegan and gone back to meat. Miley Cyrus, Anne Hathaway, Lizzo, they've all given up their veganism, which I have to say, being vegan, while I think it's ethically the high road, I think it's hard to live that way.
Well, it can be difficult, especially if you're used to having dairy and milk and other animal-derived products. But it's interesting all the different vegan factions there are, because some vegans are okay with beeswax, for example, which is a very common structuring wax. It's used to make products harder. It's used to raise the melting point so that lip balm doesn't quite melt in your pocket the same way. And for example, Glossier in 2023 reformulated their products not to contain beeswax or lanolin, and consumers got really upset because they were like, the product performs differently, it's terrible. And so they actually reinstated their old formula. And sometimes, beeswax, lanolin, they're really hard to replicate. There's so many, I'll put this in air quotes, synthetic beeswaxes. They don't really gel or structure oils in the same way that a beeswax would. And same with lanolin. There's not really anything that is quite like lanolin in products. And so as a formulator, when people want animal-based products, but they don't want it to be animal-based, that's always been a tough formulation challenge.
Right. In fact, I was doing an interview with a reporter about some recent animal ingredients, like tallow is making a comeback, and then that salmon sperm active ingredients too.
PDRN.
They asked about that.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. And back in the late 90s, we pretty much got away from the industry, pretty much got away from animal derived products, mostly because of mad cow disease and the scare about that. But then also because people were sort of going more towards using animal stuff as cruel. So animal cruelty was big then too. But then vegan came along. And, I have to be honest with you, I didn't really understand the big push for vegan products because most beauty products, unless you're using lanolin or collagen or something like that, most beauty products are already vegan. It wasn't that hard to be vegan. VO5 shampoo was vegan.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that that was a big consumer request. And at the end of the day, the same amount of demand for vegan beauty products didn't align with the percentage of vegan dietary consumers in the United States. And
Right.
so I always kind of said, and this is an unpopular thought, if you're willing to eat meat, you should be willing to use the byproducts from animals in your products.
I mean, otherwise those ingredients are just going to waste, right?
Exactly. What's interesting is I, have a lab. I formulate for all types of brands on the market, new emerging ones, as well as established ones that are at all the retailers that Sephora, Target, multinationals, salon professional brands. And they are more and more being vegan is not a product formulation requirement for them. So I'm also seeing this in what Allure is seeing.
It's going away from a trend. We'll see if it comes back. I mean, these things are kind of cyclical, but definitely the products are different when you go completely vegan and you get rid of stuff like lanolin and collagen and that sort of stuff. They're just not the same. Valerie, I did see one more, and these I just wanted to rant a little bit. It's an ingredient safety checker called the Safe Choice Cosmetic app. Now, I was going to download it and try it out, but then it's like $40 a month subscription. I'm like,
how much?
$39
per month.
Maybe it was annual. I don't know. I saw $39 and I'm like, no, I don't.
Well, even $39 annually, I get they have basic fees to cover, but products are already safe. I don't know why you would pay $39 for an app to figure that out.
Right, that's what their idea. I mean, they said Safe Choice aims to create an accessible, convenient entry point to ingredient literacy for consumers, and they also say that it is science-backed in-app distinction stamp. So that's a science-backed app that tells you whether the products are safe or not. And it's like, yeah, they're already safe. So I don't know what this one is doing. Like, there's the Yucca app, which is kind of does the same thing. I'm sure the Environmental Working Group has an app like this. Like, what new are they bringing to the table? I just don't see it.
Well, I haven't looked into it, so I can't provide commentary on that. But just in general, products are safe. They're supposed to be safe. I don't think this app is going to catch anything in a product that a toxicologist wouldn't test. Now, that's assuming brands are doing toxicology studies for their products. If you have a brand and you're listening and you haven't done one, I just recommend you do it, because ultimately that's going to be the safest bet for determining whether your product is safe, because that is the market requirement no matter where in the world you are. And so as long as brands are doing that, no need for apps. Although I think the app makers would still tell you differently, because Yucca, they hate phenoxyethanol, for example, and phenoxyethanol is perfectly fine.
Right. And, well, even this app was, I looked at their scores for, like, methylparaben are like, oh, dangerous. And methylparaben's not dangerous. So they're just using all of the, fear-mongering stuff about chemicals. And, these things have been shown safe. The levels that are used in cosmetics are safe. Cosmetic ingredient review is a good source for safety information. The SCCS out in the EU is a good source, and both of them say parabens are perfectly fine, or methylparaben anyway. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know why they have to keep making these apps that are just trying to scare consumers. It kind of is annoying, I have to say.
Well, maybe they feel there's a need. Maybe they like people paying $39 annually to support their app. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
Well, if people do pay it, I guess they're not wrong.
We do have some listener feedback from our last episode where we talked about counterfeit products. Misty, thank you so much for the feedback. With regard to the segment on potentially counterfeit products purchased online, I couldn't tell if you guys were aware that Walmart.com also has third-party sellers just like Amazon. I've seen some of the exact same sketchy sellers on there that I've seen on Amazon. I think the article was referencing products on Walmart.com from third-party sellers not purchased directly from Walmart.
Yeah, I did not realize that Walmart sort of did an Amazon thing where they let just anybody sell products on there. So that is an excellent point. So that would reduce the faith I would have in the quality of those products.
I realized that they allowed that, but what I was referencing is I have many customers who do sell to Walmart, and you have to provide still a lot of documentation on the products that
Sure.
I don't know how they would allow these other people to be on there if they couldn't provide it. So that's where my confusion came from. Amazon, yes, they do allow anyone, but Walmart, Target, right. I mean, you have to provide a lot of stuff to be able to retail on there.
Yeah, but I think on Walmart.com, they probably just have different standards than, selling it in the Walmart stores or even directly through Walmart themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that could be true. I mean, I guess I would just assume that they would do that. But at any rate, I still...
They'll probably go for the money.
Yeah, but my stance doesn't change from last time that,
sure.
100% or 95% of the products bought were counterfeit because even products that we were shown that appeared, could this be counterfeit product? It smelled weird or, the packaging was yellowing. Sometimes through our testing, we did find that it was our product. It was just very old. And it wasn't actually counterfeit at all. And you can do that through other mechanisms with batch tracing and diversion trackers and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for the clarity, Misty. I did realize it. I didn't, I guess, connect all the dots, as Perry just said. Sure. But my stance doesn't change.
Yeah, and mine doesn't either. Like, the counterfeit product problem in that article, I think, was exaggerated.
I do have one other comment. If you're still worried, just buy it from the place where you know it's real. Buy it directly from the brand. Right. Yes, Amazon's convenient. I think that's low risk. But if you're getting a great deal on the product or the product is insanely marked up, which actually I have a customer that has an issue. Their product appears on Amazon and it's not them selling it, but that they figured out who's selling the Amazon product because there's traceability there. And that person is buying their product and just reselling it on Amazon. So, it's not that you're going to get counterfeit product, but just if you are concerned, if it's a better price, probably too good to be true, just go get it from the brand.
We did get another email about this. It was this another app here. So it said, "Hi, Beauty Brains team. We've been following your work for years. Science-based approach to cosmetic ingredients. Exactly what the skincare community needs more of." There you go. We're science-based, huh? We're launching My Glow app, which is an AI skincare app that takes a photo of any product label. You don't even need a barcode. And then it gives you a personalized compatibility score based on the specific skin type and concerns. We also do a weekly AI facial scanning to track your skin progress objectively. And then they wanted to say if we wanted to try it out or something. And why I bring this up is just this whole notion. Could this even work? Can an AI take a picture of a product and tell you whether it'll be good for your skin or not?
I actually have experience in this area. I actually did do a substantial amount of research in artificial intelligence with using imaging of hair and scalp skin. And the company I partnered with who created the device had a ton of experience in scanning skin.
Yeah.
And I believe that you can detect anomalies in hair and skin to better make product recommendations for you. There are certain things that I think you can see improvement on. Now, I will say, particularly for hair, the requirement was you have to have this particular device because I had it retrofitted with different imaging tools to standardize different photographical things within the hair. So that it can use AI to scan that particular image in that standardized setting. And skin is actually the same way. You need standardized settings. I think it would be pretty hard based on different phones and the ability of the camera, different light settings, not creating that standardized photography opportunity. I think it would be difficult for AI facial scanning to provide any meaningful skin progress, in my opinion. And by the way, I've analyzed literally thousands of images for this project. And so I can say this I know this for a fact.
Yeah, and I just look at the idea here, and I know, you throw the word AI in something and, it impresses some people or something, but I'm just skeptical that you can take a photo of just a product and the AI is going to know this is good for you or not. Because everybody's skin is so different, and really the only way you can get this information is if you try the products yourself. Because a lot of it is, how do you like how it feels? Because, there isn't a lot of new technology really in our industry. There's occlusive agents, there's emollients, there's humectants, and then of course active ingredients that may or may not even work. So I don't know what an AI is going to do special that's going to tell you that you're going to like a product or not. I don't think it can do that. You have to just try the product yourself. I just don't see what extra benefit this gives you.
I also don't like that you take a picture of your face because of just privacy concerns. I know that through the work that we did, we had to ensure that the images were not personally identifiable in any way, shape, or form. And if you're uploading an entire image of your face, I would want to know that the images are being not stored or used in any kind of way that could violate, those privacy laws. So I don't know what my Glow app is doing. It's just something I think about. But I do like that they're looking for feedback. I wouldn't want to upload my face in an app.
There you go. All right, well, we'll see where that one develops over time.
All right, let's head to our questions. Our first question comes to us from superfan Pia in New York City.
First of all, congratulations to you, Valerie, on your baby boy.
Oh, thank you.
From one mom to another, the 0 to 3 stage is a lot of work, but it does get easier, and they grow up so fast.
Oh, thank you.
And Perry, I'm curious how many books you've read this year so far. So far, I'm 9 books, I think. Right now, I'm reading Lord of the Rings.
That's a big one, so it's going to slow you down on your count.
Yeah. But I'm going to take credit for 3 books, because it's kind of 3, right? No, I'm just taking one.
You can't do that. That's not allowed.
Right. All right. Now, on to my beauty question. There is a brand called Chit, from which I bought some products, and they have lots of fun hairstyling products. And one of their viral products is the rice protein shampoo and conditioner bars. I've been undecided about buying them. Whenever I read reviews, everyone raves about how great the shampoo is at promoting hair growth. I'm not a fan of soap and shampoo bars, so that's one reason why I'm undecided. Does rice protein actually promote hair growth? And is it worth giving it a try? Thanks in advance for the helpful information, Pia. Rice protein.
Yeah, I love rice protein, not because it grows hair back. I think when...
So for making pudding? Like rice pudding?
Oh, actually, I do love rice pudding. There's a really great rice pudding shop in New York City that I like to go to. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So I like rice protein for a few reasons. It's a really lightweight protein. We always used it in volumizing collections at the salon brand that I worked for because it was so lightweight. And it's not super stiff. It has really a great adhesion to the hair fiber. We used it for those attributes, ideal for fine
Right.
hair. When a brand attributes an ingredient to hair growth, I think the consumer automatically thinks, oh, I'm going to grow more hair, or if I have thinning hair, it's going to help that. And that's not really what proteins do. There are some peptides associated with rice for scalp, and they don't necessarily do that either. But a typical rice protein is going to prevent hair from breaking. That's kind of what all proteins essentially do. And so when your hair's not breaking, it can help it actually grow longer only because the hair's not breaking off, but it's not actually
Sure.
promoting growth at a follicular level.
Right.
And so I think it would be better for the brand to offer some clarity in that sense. Now, they actually can't say rice protein helps grow hair at all, because that would be a drug claim. But they could say it helps condition it, helps prevent breakage. And so if you have fine hair, Pia, you might enjoy the Kitsch products from that perspective.
But
That's all I can recommend.
probably not going to grow hair. Well, I was curious about this, and one of the things there is some confusion here because there has been some work with rice bran extracts. In fact, there was a small study in 2015 that looked at a very specific rice bran extract, so not just plain old rice protein, and it did show some improvement in hair density and hair thickness, mostly in men with male pattern hair loss. But this was a short single center study. They had about 50 subjects, and they didn't all complete it. Some women did it also, and there weren't any statistically significant evidence for it working with women. On top of that, the placebo group, so they did like a serum with and without this rice bran, and the placebo group showed an improvement, and the rice bran showed more of an improvement, and so they're like, oh, maybe it does something. But whenever you see that, you have to be skeptical, because you're like, well, why did the placebo group show an improvement? They shouldn't have shown an improvement, but they did. Anyway, so that is probably where this is coming from, because I didn't know of rice protein having hair growth effects, but maybe that's where this was from.
Well, I've heard it, and you're right. Consumers probably are conflating an extract and a protein. The rice bran proteins are typically water soluble. They're mostly water soluble, whereas rice bran extract, the particular one in this study, was extracted using supercritical CO2, which means it's an oil soluble type extract. And they're not the same thing, but I could see how that's very confusing to the consumer.
Right. The beauty product marketers will kind of take advantage of that. Like, rice bran protein, who's going to notice, right?
I'm going to guess this probably came from TikTok, not necessarily. Well, I mean, maybe a brand marketer, but I'm sure a consumer got that confused and started a TikTok craze. Our next question is an audio question from Marissa.
Hi, Valerie and Perry. My question is, so I have recently purchased a pack of Canicolon braiding hair, which I will be using to make a braid hair extension similar to the one in the Etsy link I've attached to this email. But it is rough in texture and dull and not at all similar in curl pattern to my hair, as you can see in the photo I've attached. So my question for you is, what can I do to improve the texture of this synthetic hair and make it more similar in curl pattern to my own hair? To what extent can I expect the effects of human hair products to carry over to the synthetic hair that cannot be chemically treated or heat styled? Are there any ingredients that you would guess are more likely to have a similar effect on both the human and synthetic hair? And are there any besides the obvious of bleach or perm chemicals that should definitely be avoided? Thank you. Love the show.
Well, thanks for the question and the recorded question. We always like to get other people's voices on the show. Valerie, have you worked much with synthetic hair?
Well, I haven't worked with synthetic hair per se, but we did a lot of work on synthetic hair in my prior life through the form of mannequins and also working at a salon brand. A lot of the questions that we would get are products safe or suitable for extensions, which often are made of real hair, of course, but some extensions are made from what are called monofiber, and those are typically acrylic-based type fibers. So basically, they're plasticky fibers, and sometimes hair that are wigs, mannequins, extensions can be mixed. And sometimes the hair is real hair, but it might not be real human hair. So I've done a lot of work to show, can this product be used on that hair, on those types of hairs, if you call them hairs.
Right, the synthetic hair is what sort of is it acrylic polymer based?
Usually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she sent a picture of the hair and her own hair, and she wants to get that curl pattern. You get to the synthetic hair looked a little frizzed out, so you're going to have to really treat that with like a leave-in conditioner, something like that first. And then I think you can sort of clump it together if you're using styling polymers. But there'd have to be like a technique for you to do it, to clump them together, spray it, let it sit. But you could probably do it. It's sort of like a art project, though. There's no easy way.
Yeah, no easy way. And I would say, I definitely recommend a leave-in conditioner, something that's going to coat the synthetic hair. And then you can use heat, but it has to be really low heat because we don't know the melting point of these plastics. And sometimes a blow dryer can be very hot if the synthetic hair is held too close to the heat source for too long of a time. And you definitely don't want to heat up a curling iron or flat iron to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 Celsius and apply it. You would need to use very low heat and repetitive motions over the hair to try to get some of the frizziness out of the fiber and to get it to be smooth like the target hair that you're looking for. Otherwise, the fibers aren't really going to behave in the same way as real human hair. They're just not. So you have to use physics to kind of overcome reshaping and applying a product that's going to help absorb some of that heat and diffuse it across the hair fiber, which would be a really lightweight leave-in conditioner. And before you apply it to the whole hair, I would just test a little piece to make sure that you're happy with the process that you're deploying on it. That way you don't wreck the whole thing.
Right, and that it's compatible with it, yeah.
Exactly. And then, of course, as you mentioned, I would not color, bleach, perm, anything like that, unless it's a colorant specifically designed for wig hair.
Valerie, we got one from Sammy from Patreon. Sammy says, "Hi, Beauty Brains. I was wondering what your thoughts on layering azelaic acid and copper peptides are. I have heard that azelaic acid is too low of a pH and will cancel out the effects of the copper peptides, but I'm not sure how accurate this is. For reference, I used the Anua 10% azelaic acid serum, wait for it to dry, and then I apply Ordinary's 1% copper peptide serum. Thanks you for all your help, Sammy."
This is actually a little bit of a legitimate question because peptides are naturally occurring in the body. There's also synthetic peptides like the copper peptide, which has 3 little amino acids associated with it. And these can be pH sensitive. So I think it's very legitimate to say, hey, should I be applying a product that's an acid-based serum with a peptide because I heard the peptide's going to deactivate. And for copper peptide, the dissociation pH, meaning where the copper and the peptide kind of fall apart from each other and inactivate, are below a pH of 4 for an extended period of time. That's what the literature shows. And so I could see this as a legitimate concern. Now, the question is, what's the pH of the azelaic acid serum being applied? And is it going to interact? The azelaic acid that's used in this serum has very specific pH requirements. Azelaic acid is actually very difficult to formulate with. It tends to precipitate. It has an extremely, extremely low water solubility. And for this reason, azelaic acid serums with any high quantity typically don't have a lot of stuff in them because there's a lot of rules formulating with azelaic acid. And so you got to follow those rules for the product to work. And so presumably Anua is doing that. Now, I checked out the product and they advertise their pH to be around 4.5 to 5.5.
Yeah.
So that it's gentle, no sting. And this is actually what most azelaic acid serums are around. They're around anywhere from 4 to 5. So this is at or above the pH in which you shouldn't have copper peptides. Now, if this were a glycolic acid serum or some kind of chemical peel, definitely I wouldn't apply it. But in this case, I think they should be okay to mix.
Yeah, it's also when you put it on there, what's the ending pH too? Like
your skin does buffer and
yeah.
adjust. It might take some time, but it sounds like you're letting it dry. And so, yeah, for this reason, I think you're all in a safe range. Now, if you were applying a peel of a pH 1.9, I would say, you might want to wait a few hours for your skin to come back to that equilibrium. But I think in this case, it's fine.
Yeah, and whether the copper peptide is doing anything or not is debatable too, at least for me. So.
Well, now copper peptides come from pharma. They have a lot of data. You're still doubtful?
Yeah. But I mean, it's got to get all the way through your dermis and down, or all the way through to the epidermis and the layers, and I don't know how much gets through.
I don't know. I like it. Now, the only thing is I will say a lot of brands claim to use copper peptide, but copper peptide is blue. So if your product is not even tinted blue and there's no other colorants in there making it blue, I would say you probably don't have enough copper peptide to be effective. I mean, 1%, would be very dark.
Yeah, pretty blue. So,
very blue.
All right. Well, I hope that helps there.
We have another audio question, Perry.
Another audio question. Let me call that one up now. From Catherine.
Hi, Beauty Brains. I want to thank you for one of the best hair weeks of my life. Since you mentioned light serums, it's made a big difference. I have very fine hair, and I know serums are a miracle cure, but they just weighed my hair down. So thank you. My question now is, I have 60-year-old hands that have a lot of sun damage, and as the skin is sort of thinning and bruises more easily, my dermatologist suggested using Skin Better Science Alpharet Overnight Cream. She said to build up collagen. My question is, will it really build up collagen? And more immediately, the packaging says this is going to make my skin more sensitive to sun. If I use it in the evenings and then in the morning during the daytime, I try to apply the sunscreen, but if I kind of miss it, is that just making things worse? Thanks very much.
Do you know what's funny? I was just talking to someone about this cream today, earlier.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Skin Better Science has beautiful branding, but it's kind of funny. We were exactly talking about this product.
Well, I will say, first she said she credits us with her having one of her best hair weeks of her life, so that was nice.
Oh.
Right. Well, of course, it wasn't my advice, probably, but...
Oh. No, that's great. That's really good to hear. That feels good.
Yeah. We had mentioned serums, and she said it made a big difference. Okay, 60-year-old hands and some sun damaged. So she wants to know, what do you do? So you were looking at this Alpharet overnight cream?
Well, someone was talking about it, and, I just thought it's really interesting because typically you don't combine retinoids with acids, and the whole shtick behind this product is, it's daytime retinoid combined with an AHA. So, we were talking about that, but it had nothing to do with, it was just conversation. So it's kind of funny.
Well, it says it's the #1 dermatologist recommended non-prescription retinoid brand, and it's only $145 for 1 ounce. What? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No wonder the dermatologists are recommending it. They never seem to recommend like the cheap stuff, do they?
Well, skincare can be expensive to formulate. I'm always shocked at some of the raw material prices for skincare that I
Sure.
see, and people don't even blink an eye, like the formulators. And I'm like, in hair care, you just can't have expensive materials because the packaging is so big. So I'm
Right,
used to
right.
like lower cost per pound
Yeah,
ingredient
well,
pricing. Yeah.
I mean, if you can get someone to pay $140 for 1 ounce of product, I mean, how much could this formula actually cost to make? Like $15 or less, right?
Well, yeah, I would
For
say
I'm saying
because
for
if it's
1 ounce.
oh,
For
for
one
one
ounce.
ounce, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
like,
because
come on.
that would make it $240 a pound.
Right.
Well,
Right,
if
exactly.
yeah, if we were just talking about the juice, so definitely, I think it costs even less than that.
Right. Yes. No, I'm way exaggerating. I'm saying I could probably, make a
Now,
similar one for
all
five
in
bucks.
labor, packaging,
Sure, sure.
unit carton, all of the, direct costs and all of the contributing costs, I would say, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
it's $15 all in for its contribution margin.
Right, right. So, anyway, so the key ingredients are this Alpharet, which is the combination of retinoid and alpha hydroxy acid or lactic acid. Okay, glycolic acid, sure. I mean, those AHAs and stuff. I'm not seeing anything terribly new here, right?
Well, I think the fact that they've combined the retinoid with the AHA is
Yeah.
interesting because usually you don't use them at the same time because of the propensity for irritation.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, if you can handle the irritation, I don't know if this is irritating. Maybe they've formulated it so it's not irritating, but then it's probably less effective, right?
Exactly. Well, the reason the product has a sun sensitivity warning is actually because of the glycolic acid and lactic acid. That's a legal requirement in the United States and maybe Canada, where
Uh-huh.
if you're using an AHA of any kind, you have to disclose that your skin will be more sensitive to the sun, and therefore you need to use it. And it actually doesn't matter day or night because the fact that the product is exfoliating is what gives you that sun sensitivity as an AHA. So, obviously, maybe you want to avoid it in the morning, or if you do put sunscreen over it, but even if you use it in the evening, you have that same issue.
All right. So, I mean, I think the reality, though, is that 60-year-old hands, sun damage, use a moisturizer and wear gloves is probably going to be. It's hard to come back from that. I mean, I might look at my 57-year-old hands and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty much what I'm going to have, right?
Well, my body's basically one freckle, so I totally
Oh,
get it. But
yeah.
the thing that I'm actually glad you brought gloves up because even if the serum worked, Catherine, you have to really avoid sun, period, on your hands to prevent those spots from coming back. And so whether you're using this cream or not, you do need to use gloves that have some kind of UV resistance. There are some really great ones now that you can get online thanks to the craze of using it. I remember when they were really hard to find and I had to search high and low. I've been wearing driving gloves for years. But there's so much intermittent exposure on your hands from ultraviolet light that it's very easy. And if you have brown spots that you don't like, at the price of 1 ounce for this serum, you might be better saving up and having a laser treatment on your hands to get a majority of that pigment out. And then you can kind of start with a clean slate by wearing gloves anytime you're outside. That's what I would recommend.
All right, I would recommend we go to our last question.
Katie from Patreon says, "Hi, Beauty Brains. I'm lazy and always air dry my hair. I recently tried Crown Affair's air dry mousse and really liked the results, but wasn't crazy about the scent. As I'm widening my search, do I need to limit my moisture to mousses that are specified for air drying, or will any product work? Thanks for your great content, Katie."
Well, in looking at this texturizing mousse and the ingredients, I mean, this is pretty much a mousse formula, right?
Yeah, this is a very standard formula type. So how
Yeah.
it works is it's a water-thin liquid, it's non-aerosol, and you put it through a special foamer, kind of like a foaming hand soap foamer, and it has a little bit of surfactant in it to help create these bubbles.
The bubbles,
And
yeah.
you put it on your hair, and over time your hair dries, whether that's by air or by diffuser or by a blow dryer. But in my experience, most of these mousses people use in a way that they're air drying their hair because they want to retain some of the natural texture of their hair fiber or enhance curls. And so what I would look for is the type of polymer that's present in them. So the Crown Affair product doesn't have a styling polymer per se, just utilizes salt to kind of keep hair a little bit textured. But sometimes you might find PVP or VPVA copolymer if it's like a curl holding type mousse.
Right.
So any product will have the air dry capability. It's just an advertising point for Crown Affair. But you just want to make sure you're okay with the polymer that's used for it. So I like Sienna Naturals is actually pretty nice. Pattern has a lot of crunchy texture to it. So you just kind of have to find what's right for the look that you're looking for.
Our Tresemme mousse was always a big seller, so that one might work for you too.
Yeah, tea tree. If you like tea tree and lavender, tea tree lavender mint by Paul Mitchell, they have a really nice mousse. Positioned as a curl line, but it doesn't leave a crunchy residue at all. You might even like that one.
You know what it was interesting that we had discovered is just in testing is if you shampoo your hair and you air dry it, it dries more slowly than if you shampoo and condition. So just putting a leave-in conditioner is in your hair is actually going to speed up that drying time.
Interesting that you did an experiment.
Oh, well, we were always looking for the ways to make claims about our products, like special claims and stuff. And so we would just try stuff like that. I was kind of surprised, right? Because I'm like, well, wait, you're treating the hair twice. But I think what happens is the conditioner helps to the water to come out of your, like the standing water to come out of your hair more quickly.
Very interesting. I totally believe that. It almost like probably because some of the oils or silicones are displacing some of the water content from the hair fiber as well as the quats. That's typically how products that speed up air drying speed up blow drying as well work.
I hear something that's displacing our own voices, and that's the music.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you get a chance, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a review. That's going to help other people find the show and ensure we have a full docket of beauty questions to answer.
And you might have heard a couple of those questions here by people recording it. And if you want to have your voice on the show, just record your question on a smartphone and email it to thebeautybrains@gmail.com. Or you can use the form in the show notes, or you can also call our number, 1-872-216-1856, and leave a voicemail. The Beauty Brains are also on Patreon. If you like what we do and appreciate that we don't take sponsored content, you can help support the show because it's not free to produce. You can go to patreon.com/thebeautybrains and subscribe at any level. You also get your questions answered in a higher priority and a transcript of the show and any special events that we do.
Also, don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts. On Instagram, we're at The Beauty Brains 2018. On X, we're at The Beauty Brains. On Bluesky, we're at The Beauty Brains. We have a Facebook page, a TikTok, and a YouTube.
Oh, yeah, we are out there. And sometimes I even look at the social media stuff, but not usually.
I don't have time to be on social
distressing.
media.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be on social media. Yeah.
Too busy doing the job.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And remember, be brainy about your beauty.
Thanks, everyone.